What is going on, everybody? Welcome to One Rental at a Time. And now that my phone is on silent, we can proceed. I am taking over this morning, not today, not all of today, but just this quick second. I'm going to introduce, as you guys know, Michael Zuber, the one and only Michael Zuber. I'm Adrian Hernandez, and we're going to be asking some questions about how you can still buy real estate, how you can still make money in this interesting time of the real estate market. So Zuber, welcome to the show.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. I always love when my guests take over and you're the host. I get to be in the other seat. So I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so much.
This is great. I love it. So question for you. Right now, obviously, a lot of people are, interest rates, prices all over the place, mindset all over the place, consumer confidence all over the place. But if there was somebody that was like, Michael, where do I buy? What can I buy? And where could I make money? Let's start there. What would you say to them?
It's funny you brought this up because this morning on the Daily Financial News, which you can go back and look at, it was July 16th. I think the title of the video is something like Las Vegas Real Estate Explodes or something like that. And this is the mindset I want you to have. So I went on a 2 or 3 minute rant about the fact that Realtor.com just posted that Las Vegas is the #1 market in the entire country for growth in active listings. In fact, according to Realtor.com, memory serves, active inventory is up 77% year on year. Now, Realtor.com went on to basically paint a very scary picture. And I'm like, guys, this is great news. This is great news. In fact, I think I said something like, sometimes I'd rather be lucky than good, because the one rental at a time strategy, your boy Zuber, I'm just looking to buy one a year. And believe me when I say I want less competition. Everybody's mindset is jacked. Rates are still close to 7. People are giving up. I want more inventory. Hello, 77% more inventory. Good thing. And we are starting to see delistings, because one of the things that people don't realize about today's market is while there's lots of listings, there's a bunch of wish pricing. And according to Realtor.com Realtor.com last week, 47% jump in delistings. So all I got to tell you is if you have the right mindset and you are looking to buy great deals, this is the first buyer's market I remember since 2012. So you have to have your head on straight. Now, if you didn't listen to me 6 months ago and you didn't adjust your buying criteria and you didn't buy deeper, and now you're at the end of this process, well, you should have listened to me, right? If you're a seller in this market, I feel for you. You're competing on price. If you are a must sell, and lots of flippers are, you're a must sell. And I don't have good news for you. July and August are going to suck. July and August are going to be horrible, horrible months for transactions, which means sellers and buyers. That said, I do think it turns around in September, and September is better than last year. And, we kind of heal from there, but ever so slightly and ever so slowly. So much, much better to be a buyer today than a seller. So that's the first thing I would say. And again, I'm not even talking about being Adrian Hernandez with billboards and TV commercials and all of these things. I'm just talking about buying out of the MLS.
Right.
I'm tracking more and more properties every day that I'm like, oh, that's a good one. Now I have some systems and apps that maybe a lot of people don't have, like Property Radar and whatnot. So I can see equity positions and, I'm doing a little bit of due diligence, but I'm finding more and more properties with 0 loan balances or very low loans that are ripe for creative financing, right? Seller financing, 90% CLTV, 50% first, 40% second, 10% down. So I'm going to attack this. I'm going to attack this market. I'm going to show you what's possible. I can't guarantee get a deal because I'm going to be cheap and, I don't need one, but I want you guys to have the right attitude. So the first thing you have to realize is in a lot of the country, certainly your market, certainly my market, are buyers markets. And Vegas, again, according to Realtor.com, is the #1 buyers market. So if you know that, get greedy, right? When everybody runs away, I run in. And then when I go to meetups and everybody's a brand new syndicator, or everybody's in short-term rental host, or everybody's doing the latest burr, I run the other way because you guys just make the market get stupid and overpriced, and you just don't understand the market made you. So I am more excited today than I've been in the last 3 years. The last 3 years was hard. today, awesome. I love the fact that Vegas has the most inventory because, again, I won't pay list. I'm going to likely get some, if not all, seller carry. And I'm willing to do the work. I am built to do the work. I will write dozens, if not 100 offers, if that's what it takes. I will follow up 5, 6, 7 times on stuff until they either take it off the market or sell to me. And I just got to tell you, I'm ecstatic. I'm excited.
So good. And we're seeing those numbers throughout California. We're seeing them through Arizona. There's a lot of states that are showing similar numbers for inventory. So not sure what state you are in, whoever's watching this, but take a look at that, guys. I know, you know, for us, I have a buyer looking in Big Bear right now, and that market is way oversaturated. And I'm like, now's the best time to get a deal. They'll pick up a house that would typically sell for $1 million for $750, $780.
Exactly. If you are lucky enough to be like me, shopping at this point, go steal something.
Right.
Go steal it. You will walk into equity.
Right. Right. And that's another thing, like I was explaining to them yesterday, don't get attached to anything, right? Let's make a bunch of offers and just see what sticks, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you're an investor like me and you're not working with an agent that just said what Adrian did, get a new agent. If you bring a number to, like I had somebody in my school community, I'll give you the rough details from memory. She found a property that had been listed for several hundred days, had a couple of price drops. I think most recently was 100 or call it 200 grand round numbers. She found out that it needed like 50K of work and she wanted to write the offer at 120. And again, her agent's giving her a hard time. And right. I'm like, write the freaking offer. I mean, you're never, first off, you're not going to get it at 120, but you're going to learn something. Right. How motivated? What are they, what's going on? Write the offer. So again, like Adrian said, if you are shopping in Big Bear or anywhere and the market is flooded like Vegas, you should be ready to write lots of offers. But to your point, if you get locked into a house saying, honey, this is the one, you've lost all negotiation power.
All negotiation.
It's all out the window.
Yeah.
Your goal should be able to, I mean, if I was shopping in Big Bear and I was looking at $1 million homes, no lie, I'd be looking to walk into 200K of equity minimum.
Minimum. Yep.
Minimum. 20%.
And it's the agents just that are willing to make that offer, right? And
they have to have the right mindset like you. It's like, I know this is going to take time, but I'm going to get my person the best thing. And then, by the way, they're going to tell their friends and we're going to go get somebody else something. And have that multiple transaction mindset. Don't be that real estate agent that goes, oh my God, I don't write a 120 on 200. Do you not realize you don't get paid till the deal's done? Why negotiate for the seller? I mean, what the hell?
And like your point, you may learn something, right? You may learn something. And I wanted to bring something back up that you mentioned, how you're using Property Radar to go in and see, their equity position, seeing what their loan is. You guys, that's really important, right? Like what the hat says, do the work, right? Do the work. Take that address, as Zuber said, look at your buy box, take those addresses, go invest in a site like Property Radar and look that up, right? Now you're going in with more buying power. Now you have different options that you can provide for that seller that agent might not even been able to.
Even better, I know when not to waste my time. If my goal is to find a seller that could say yes to a 50-40-10, I have to know they have at least 50% equity. Yep. Otherwise, they fundamentally can't say yes because no seller is going to write a check to close.
Right. And I think to that point is very important, right? Some of you guys are making, the house is $1 million, you're making a $700,000 offer and they owe $700,000.
Yeah, they can't say yes.
The court is not going to get, that's not going to work. Right. So I like your point. It's going that extra step and looking into the property, which is huge.
And folks, if you want Property Radar, they gave me a link that gets you some free goodies. I'll put it in the show notes below. But yeah, Property Radar is something I wish I had back, 2 decades ago, because it would have just made because again, what I'm doing today is the same thing I did back then, except insert Property Radar because I learn more about the seller. Right. Before I used to have the agent ask, well, it's the seller's equity position. And they're like, they all stand off. Now I just look online. It's not always right, but it's right most of the time.
Right.
And I write it probably saves me from writing 25% of my offers that are just non-starters. And then the beauty, Adrian, is I don't look at them again.
Huge.
Right. It saves me time. It increases my percentages of yes or negotiation. So Property Radar is a huge help. And then, oh, by the way, if you want to link that with mail campaigns and just have a sniper rifle on your buy box, they have it all in one platform, right? You don't have to take that and put it in yellow letter or other things. So Property Radar is great for full-time employees like me. That's what I'd be using.
Yeah, no, Mark's done a good job building it out. I've had the chance to meet him a few times. He's
Mhm.
great guy. So now let me ask you about, you mentioned something earlier about short-term rentals. Do you think that there is still opportunity out there for short-term rentals for those that are in that like still Airbnb? And I'm not talking about Airbnb arbitrage. That's not what I'm talking about
No,
here. I'm
we don't
talking
go
about
there.
straight purchase to short-term rental.
I actually think there's more opportunity today in short-term rentals than there was 2 years ago. I think 2 years ago it was saturated. I think we've seen cities over the last 2 years basically say up, down. I think there's more. I think there's more opportunity today in short-term rentals. And again, I'm somebody who doesn't have any, and let's be clear, will never have any. But I think enough soft hands have been washed out. I think enough cities have declared whether they're in or out or up or down on short-term rentals, and I think there's some opportunities. I think what I've learned by watching others and talking to others is the property matters. Location. And if you have something with water view or waterfront, or maybe you're up in Big Bear and you have like these great grand views when it snows, I think location is very important. So again, I was very negative short-term rentals 2 years ago because I saw everybody going that direction, and I just know how that ends, and it is ended spectacularly bad for many. But today, I think we've washed out a lot of soft hands. I think a lot of people realize that short-term rentals are not passive. In fact, they're treated differently on the tax code. They're hospitality. So if you're going to make a go of it, I say go for it. In fact, one of the things I'm looking to add to school is I would love to have somebody inside school, probably 2 people at least, to run a mastermind or an accountability group on STRs, because I do think there's opportunity. I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And if I can find a couple of operators via a network such as yourself or others that want to contribute to the school, that's like a big gap, because I will never talk about something I don't know. We got out-of-state investing. We got ladies of ORAD. I'm getting somebody for Gen Z, hopefully Cody Davis, knock on wood. And I'm just looking to round out school, and that's the big one I haven't been able to find yet. So I'd love to get an operator who's gone through the fire, came out the other side, and has plenty of war stories. So if you're out there, let me know.
Yeah, huge. In any way I can contribute to school, let me know.
Thank you.
Next question. Do you believe that the ADU play for adding ADUs, garage conversions, we've seen some people talk about it. We've seen some, it hasn't been as trendy. Do you see that taking off? Do you see that be more of a play in certain states?
Oh yeah, I think the ADU thing is just starting, right? We've talked to Derek, the ADU guy. We've talked to Thatch Nguyen and others. And if I were to tell you, like, if you were to use a baseball analogy, and if you don't know, a baseball game usually has 9 innings. I think the ADU game hasn't even started yet. I think it's going to have a decade of growth. I think people will be shocked at how many states and cities go that direction as a solve for affordable housing. So I think ADU is at their infancy, right? And people are talking about, hey, it's up 100%, 200%. I'm like, unless we're talking 2,000%, right? This is early. I think Thatch is right. I think Derek is right. ADUs are money printing machines. I mean, just to give you an example, I think Derek shared this in school the other day. He has a house, he buys it, fixes it up, cash flows, whatnot. But because of his market, I think it's in Oregon, we'll just call it Oregon. He builds an ADU for, call it 90 grand. Then he goes back and refis the 2 houses with 2 signed lease, and he scoops 130 grand. So you want to talk about Burr on steroids? Work in a market where you can build for 90 and refi for 130, and it's a money printing machine.
Wow, it's amazing. That is amazing. And for those of you that have not looked into that, guys, do want to consider that. I know some of you are in, states like California where you're wondering, how do you cash flow, right? Depending on your cost per build, it could really work. So next question for you, for agents that are out there that I know some agents that watch this, right? That they're just trying to I've talked to a handful of them, and they're just treading water, trying to stay afloat. I know you gave me good advice, but what would be your advice to those agents in this market right now? And it could piggyback off of what you said at the beginning, but I would love to know specifically for real estate agents.
Yeah, I really feel bad for real estate agents and frankly mortgage brokers. And sometimes it sucks to be right. But I called 3 years ago that the real estate market was going to go through a recession and probably would feel like a depression. That is still going on. I do have some good news if you want to look at it. I think August will be the bottom. So we're 6 weeks away from the bottom. Now, just because you hit bottom doesn't mean you boomerang back up. It's going to be a slow slog for the next 5 years to kind of get back to where we were, maybe 4 years. But every month, you're going to see year-on-year growth. So what I would tell you is if you're hanging in there and you're fighting and all of that, know that the bottom is almost here. That should make you feel good. Now, again, when it turns, it's not going to turn and, it's not going to go up 50%, but it'll go up 10%, 12% in transactions, which is it's going to feel like a Vegas buffet because in the mortgage industry, the last number I saw is we're down 60% of mortgage brokers from the peak. Wow. Real estate agents, it's a little hard because they're yearly renewals and all of that, but it wouldn't shock me if we're down 40% from the peak. Yeah, easy, right? So again, if the market turns and you're adding 10% more transactions for your area and you're like one of the last people standing, you're going to see that. It's going to feel different. So I would tell you we're almost there. And the good news is if you could have survived this, the next 4 or 5 years are going to feel like, you're skipping in the rain. It's just going to be so much better. But that said, you do need to skill up. You do need to figure it out. One of the things I would do if I was a real estate agent, and you actually hinted at this, is I would be hunting for investors and buyers. And I would do exactly what you did. Because I think too many real estate agents are operating on the old mindset of I have a buyer. I'm going to show them 13 open houses. We're going to write an offer on one of those. No. You should have a conversation with an agent that says, I want to get you the best deal in your buy box. And your buy box is X, Y, and Z. Great news. We have 33 listings in your buy box of X, Y, and Z. I want your permission to write 15 offers. And again, you're going to be up front in the offer. It's going to say, oh, by the way, we're offering on 14 other properties. The first person to say yes wins. And you got to be clear with the buyer that says, if we do get a yes answer, you got to close. Right? Because again, all of these 15 offers are going to be 15, 20, 25, 30, 35% below ask. So you're going to blast out lots of offers. What do you have to lose? What the hell are you doing anyway? Are you worried about your reputation? Are you worried about feeding your kids? Let's go write some freaking offers and get this thing started.
I freaking love it. I love it. I have been trying to preach to them, right? But some of them, like you said, they're worried about the reputation, worried about what the other agent will say.
I suggest worried about feeding your kids first than some other agent.
Right. To your point, you can't take the comments and the negative comments to the bank, right? You can't cash those.
They don't cash those checks.
Yeah, they don't cash those checks. That's too good. Too good. I absolutely love it. You guys, I hope you got something from this. I know I've personally been asked this question over the last couple of weeks, and what better person than Michael Zuber to answer them. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share One Reno at the Time with one person you know. That would be fantastic.
That would be wonderful. You share it with one person, that would be amazing. And the last thing, folks, this mindset that I use and leverage today was come from mentoring from this young man, Adrian Hernandez, who is a couple of decades younger than me, but still leads me with my mindset because it's something I need help with all the time. Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Let's go.